Three-card brag, a beginning extract from a short story by G.F. Phillips. It was written in 2014. Rollo's campervan had been parked for months on some open wasteland close to the city centre. It was his house on wheels, but the vehicle was as good as static now. It had seen better days. No one could walk down any street and not be aware of Rollo's dark and hairy presence. There was always the studded leather jacket with broad belt to match, and the cowboy hat that accentuated his head as would a halo. Inside the campervan, Rollo was sitting around with four of his entourage, engrossed in their quick-fire games, a three-card brag. He was a dab hand at cards, as well as gamesmanship and mind games. He tried to keep it that way. It was like what he stood for in this small town. Big news, the big draw. Suddenly he stopped the game. He stood up, thinking he had heard a noise. Through the window he could see a surveyor and his young assistant, who were busy squaring up the territory within reach of the campervan. They looked at odds with themselves, wearing short coats over smart office suits and tucked-in trouser legs inside Wellington boots. Immediately he went to open the door and let it bang back. "See cows," he shouted at them, saluting the balding surveyor from the open doorway of his campervan. The surveyor pretended he hadn't heard, carrying on with his work. Only his young assistant, out of curiosity, looked up to where the sound had come from. His face looked blank. He was not amused. "Perhaps they know something we don't," said the tallest man, raising his voice a little from inside the campervan so that Rollo could hear him. Leaning against the door, Rollo looked at the two office blokes busy with their work and said to himself, "Arselookers." Rollo kept looking as the surveyor lined up his sights. His young assistant with a clipboard stood a good number of yards away. He held on to his marker stick, stabbing it into a chunk of muddy ground, then holding it firm, looking back at the surveyor. The surveyor was looking down at his sights, studying the measurement. He gave a thumb up to his young assistant, who then wrote something down onto his clipboard. They looked like boys again, trudging about in all that entrenched mud. They lifted their boots, mud hung on them, everywhere they went, being pulled and stretched like gum. It seemed farcical. "They're trying to stick it up us," said the tallest man. A resounding and emphatic "no" came from Rollo, sounding ironic. As he turned around to face his entourage, looking particularly at the tallest man, then he slammed the door behind him.